Hello everyone and welcome back to Southern Wealth. I hope you guys are doing very well. If you do enjoy the content, please consider dropping that like and subscribe. By the way, guys, over the weekend I will be on a bachelor party, so probably I won't be able to record any video until next Monday. I may do something on Sunday evening if something material happens, but most likely not. So let's go first with a little bit of macro. We see bonds still a little bit under pressure. They seem to be locked up in this range that we've discussed. I think it's likely that we're going to stay locked in these ranges until some more clarity from Fed action becomes apparent, or a successor is announced, and then the market can start pricing in the coming of that person into power in May of 2026. So to be clear, you actually don't need the new Fed to come in and cut rates. You just need to price that event. Actually, funny enough, I think that's going to be a buy the rumor, sell the news event. Maybe it's going to be the top of the bull for altcoins because they tend to peak a little bit later. I don't know. It's anybody's guess. We have to wait and see. Now, a little bit more manufacturing data. Parts of the business cycle have come a little bit better than expected, so that side of the business seems to be picking up. CPI came a little bit hotter on the monthly, but on the core CPI, it actually came lower than expected, and that spawned the theory that it's the tariffs are finally being visible and inflation is going up, and then the next day PPI came out. So PPI is the inflation for companies, and it was expected a 0.3% increase, and all of a sudden there's no increase whatsoever, and actually PPI year over year is at 2.3%, and it was expected 2.6 or 2.7. So all of a sudden, so that narrative now gets pushed out, and but we're gonna see inflation coming. So this is the funny part, right? When we actually had real inflation, Powell called it transitory. It's just transitory, inflation's going to go away. It wasn't. And now we're saying, we are preparing for the tariff inflation. So if you want to call that way, it's actually quite hilarious. So we are in a transitory non-inflation from tariffs. So first we were in a transitory high inflation period, which ended up being longer dated inflation. And now we are in a period of low inflation, transitory low inflation by the tariffs, which is going to lead into high inflation later. Taking into account the track record of economists, Peter Schiff, the Fed, since they are all so much expecting inflation, I think it's quite likely that we're going to continue having subdued inflation. Don't forget, these people are consistently wrong. So basically being on the opposite side of whatever they're preaching will probably be correct. In 2000, the Fed didn't see any problem with tech stocks. 2008, subprime, it's contained. There's nothing to see here. Real estate is very strong. And now the inflation is transitory, and now we are back into, tariffs will create massive inflation. You just wait and see, and that inflation is coming. After a little bit, we'll be in like 6 months of expecting the inflation that refuses to show up. It's quite hilarious, but it is what it is. It's unfortunate because that will lead, since the Fed decided to become extremely politicized, and this is going to be good for the history books. When you say, when did the Fed really go off the rails and became really political? It was not because people will try to say, it was because Trump picked that person in 2026. No. The person to be picked in 2026 comes as a result of Powell's behavior beforehand. Again, if Powell didn't cut in September and October 2024, trying to get his pal elected, I would have no problems with Powell's decision because he would have been consistent then and consistent now. But if he cut then he has to be cutting all the way since January, pretty much. That's what he needs to do. But to be consistent. Otherwise, he's political. It's really that simple. So, yeah, it is an unfortunate situation because now the incentive is, oh, really? Then I just have to endure a few more months and I will just pick a guy or a girl that I know will do everything that I want in terms of Fed presidency, which is terrible. It's very unfortunate, but we all have Mr. Powell to thank for. It's really terrible. There was a comment, I think, a while ago about, I cannot even say these words here because otherwise I'm going to get completely shadow banned, if not worse, about a famous case that is riling up MAGA's base. I think everyone knows what I'm talking about an island and so on. Look, man, I really don't know. I don't live in the US and I haven't paid much attention to that story. Is it surprising to me? No. Is it surprising that a lot of powerful politicians and celebrities will be involved? No. It's not something, oh my God, I'm in complete shock and awe. No. I have zero doubt that some prominent figures of both parties, by the way, will be in some of those materials. But exactly to know where the truth starts, where the truth stops is very hard, particularly for someone. I really don't follow it very attentively because I have limited time in my life, right? Like I have to try to figure out, the best way to invest my money in order to achieve retirement for me and my family. That's the ultimate goal. So, I'm always, look, in general rule, I'm in favor of transparency and things to be disclosed. That's my position. Does it smell like some cover-up? Yes, it does. Does it necessarily involve the president? Look, the materials were in Democrats' hands for a long time. I think if he was there, that information would have leaked during the election. That's my feeling. Maybe some of his friends are there, maybe some of important people in the party, maybe some people important for the midterms and the elections next. It's anybody's guess. Yes, but I wouldn't put past me something like that. Actually, like for example, if tomorrow the thing becomes public and you can see the names, and then you see some of these figures, am I gonna, oh my God, like no. I'm actually, yes, it's quite sad. Doesn't surprise me, unfortunately. That's how numbed to these kind of situations I've become. It's quite sad if you think about it. Then, but let's go to a little bit more positive things. So the dollar has been strengthening a little bit, not too much, but a little bit. That's important because that affects liquidity and financial conditions, as you know. We like a weaker dollar. And bonds, as I've said, the yields have kept quite high, which is also not ideal, but the business cycle is picking up. Stocks are keep on doing well. Now we just had the big bills being passed in the House. That part is all good. Ethereum has pumped quite a bit in the recent time frames, but the reason why Ethereum is pumping, this is my point. I really try to say this over and over again. The fundamentals of why Ethereum is pumping, the fact that it locks more value in stablecoins than any other chain, the fact that it has been selected by Wall Street and BlackRock in particular, the fact that it had net short positions like never seen before, the fact that all the KOLs and influencers were on Team Solana and anti-ETH, the fact that the few people outside of the crypto world that heard about Ethereum is how crap it is. The fact that everyone is on one side of a trade, these are the fundamentals that I believe eventually will lead to Ethereum succeeding. Because even Jim Cramer is bearish Ethereum. It doesn't matter how you look at it. The fundamentals have been in place for a few time or for a substantial amount of time right now. But the reason why people can't see them is because the price action was not matching the fundamentals. But we've talked about this 1,000 times. Fundamentals first, price action next, narrative afterwards. That's it. I still maintain my opinion that I wouldn't be surprised. So let me put it out there, that the narrative that is created around Ethereum is this. The fact that it's going to be used completely by Wall Street, it will eventually surpass Bitcoin. Maybe this cycle, maybe in a year, Ethereum will flip Bitcoin. That's going to be, I think, the narrative very close to the end of the cycle and the top for Ethereum. Is when you start to hear that narrative popping up quite a bit. Ethereum is better than Bitcoin. Ethereum will flip Bitcoin. This kind of stuff will make it incredibly obvious that the top is arriving. The issue is that when you look at the chart, you're going to see such big green candles that your mind starts to play tricks with you, trying to justify why this time is different and the correction, or a big 50, 60, 70% nasty correction, will not happen this time. That's what the brain will tell you afterwards. The worst thing is this, that you can do in crypto, for me in the crypto side, besides leverage and all this stupid crap. By the way, Bitcoin, I want to say this. Bitcoin, we may consolidate a little bit here, not 6 months, but it's also important to say this. It would be very natural that Bitcoin would fall to 112, the previous all-time high, retest it, get some more bearishness, and then pump from there. That would be very normal. Am I predicting it? No. I'm saying if that happens, because it's a possibility, I have to say it, that would actually be very, very bullish. So a retest of the breakout around the previous all-time highs, followed by regain of support, maybe dropping to 112K and then quickly to 115K, 115, 16, that would be very positive. That's what I'm trying to say. Is it going to happen? I don't know. Maybe we just go up from here. It's hard to say. Everything is possible, but it's something to keep in mind for sure. But going back to Ethereum, as I've said, Ethereum does not need simply liquidity. It also needs the business cycle to kick in. And that business cycle is improving. And it will improve with the tax bill, with all the investments coming, and just some of the deregulation that's happening. But once again, this is my point. The fundamentals behind Ethereum remain unchanged. Nothing has changed. Same thing for Bitcoin. When we were in that big correction, the Bitcoin fell to 74K in April, I said the fundamentals for Bitcoin are absolutely great, but you can't see them because the price is going down. So it hurts you. It messes with the hormonal production of your... It actually messes with your hormones. You start to produce or you stop producing hormones that make you feel good. So you feel bad, so you don't like it. The point is, the trick, the difficult part is to look at it, recognize the fundamentals, and understand where we are moving into. Let's say I said, this is true, and I got some hassle about this. I said that Ethereum could have gotten to 5K in January of 2025. Now let's say it gets there in August. That's 7 months apart. It's still gotten to 5K. Okay, I got 7 months wrong. Does it make such a big difference in your life? 7 months? Is that such, oh my God, this is terrible? What if it gets to 25K at the end of the cycle? Does it really matter if it reached to 5K in January or in August? This is my point. This is the problem that people unfortunately really get, which is they get... And my feeling is when people get really glued on this short-term kind of stuff, that tells me you're on leverage. And the problem with leverage is you may be absolutely right by the ultimate move of the market. But if you miss the time, you're screwed. You can get liquidated. Look at James Wynn. You can get liquidated, you can get destroyed. Your options can expire worthless. And then you have to see your prediction coming right but you just use leverage trying to accelerate your gains, and now you pay a big price. It's a story as old as time. Happens since these instruments exist and will happen forever, not just in crypto, in assets in general. So I still think the trend is up. Can we have corrections? Yes, and this is very important. During the biggest moves in the bull run, the biggest moves have the biggest corrections and the shortest corrections. The issue is when you put it on a weekly chart, you don't see it because it gets kind of, you see some wicks, but wicks, not wicks, W-E-E-K-S, but wicks like W-I-C-K-S. So you see some stuff like this, but it's generally going up. What I'm trying to say is you can have a week that pumps 20%. Okay? So if you look at that week, let's say that week Ethereum went up 20%. But on Monday it dropped 20%. But on Tuesday it went up 30%. But it gets distorted in the chart because you're looking at a weekly time frame. So that whole week that could have been extremely volatile, and particularly when you look at smaller altcoins, it can really go like that. I've seen altcoins that in a week drop 70%, but overall in the week they doubled. See what I mean? So if you look at the beginning of the week versus the end of the week, the coin has doubled. But in the middle, it went up 4x, dropped 70%, went up 3. That's my point. You don't see it in the week. And that part of the bull market gets very, very volatile. And because people are trying to guess the top now. So they are exiting with big positions because, I caught the top. They exit and then the whole thing runs another 5x without them. Very possible. I think we're still very far away from the top. But, it depends on how fast we go. Of course, if Bitcoin goes from here straight to 180K, you have to start thinking, okay, this went up this basically more than doubled in like a couple of months, in like 4 or 5 months. Maybe this is actually the top. Don't forget, if we follow the 4-year cycle, the top would be, I've told you this before, around late September to beginning of October, somewhere around the range. So that's something that definitely we have to keep in mind. So the price action will dictate now a lot of the potential things to happen. And with that, guys, thank you very much for your support. Don't forget, have a nice weekend ahead. Tomorrow, Saturday, for sure, no video. Sunday evening, maybe, if something material happens. If not, I will probably refrain from doing it. But on Monday, I'm back. Thank you very much for your support, guys. And I'll catch you in the next one.